want to accelerate your path to building wealth, one of the things you definitely do not want to get caught up with is excess consumerism and overconsumption. Hi, my name is lamide Elizabeth, and this channel follows my journey building wealth with no borders. And today we are having a wealth building conversation, particularly on excess consumerism and overconsumption and how that quietly drains our money and prevents us from building wealth the way that we should. So let's get into it. But before we even get started, I just want to cover a few things. One, if you are not interested in wealth building, then obviously this is not going to be the video for you. I don't want to see any comments like, oh, don't tell women what they should do with their money. Women should be able to spend money however they want. Really and truly, I really don't care how anyone else spends their money because it literally has no effect on my life whatsoever. But I enjoy talking about money. I enjoy talking about the things that I'm thinking about with money, and the people who generally watch my channel also enjoy those things. The second thing is I'm specifically referring to overconsumption and excess consumerism, not general consumption, not general consumerism. This isn't, oh, you shouldn't buy things, you shouldn't shop, blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about trading our money for basic economic needs or even certain ones. I'm talking about the normalization of having way more than is necessary, way more than is reasonable. And also what I'm not going to be talking about in this video is specifically addressing influencers, because I feel like a lot of the videos that I see on overconsumption or excess consumerism is largely targeted at dragging certain influencers for their choices, not even just influencers, content creators, let's just say, for their choices and how they choose to consume things. But I'm not going to focus on that because, one, I'm someone who likes to operate with an internal locus of control. I am not going to be focused on a video about what other people should do because the only thing I have control over is myself. I believe in value-based spending, and you never know what someone's values are. So to tell them that they are not doing the right thing with their money isn't always the best way to go about it. For example, some of you I'm sure may know of Muna Katan, or like the founder of Kayali, her beauty sister or whatever. I watched one of her videos and she has like an entire room. Like for some people, this is probably bigger than their apartment, filled with perfumes. And I see, and even Jackie Aina, for example, has like a whole wall or something. Anyway, she has a lot of perfume. And I do see people being like, oh, this is overconsumption, this is consumerism, blah, blah, blah. But you have to put these things into context, because someone who has a massive perfume collection, but then also runs a multi-million-dollar perfume brand, I wouldn't necessarily straight jump to say that's excess consumerism and that's blah, 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 because they're building something. Like, the issue is when regular people then see that sort of content and then try to apply that to their lives. We need to bring the agency back to the individual. Like, I know we like to use hashtags like Mel made me do it, TikTok made me do it, but really and truly you made yourself. I'm going to quickly talk about how I've seen excess consumerism and overconsumption kind of like progress, at least from my side of things. I think the first times where we really got to see, especially on social media, where I really got to see it was with makeup and beauty influencers. For like maybe like 5-8 years ago. I can't remember who this beauty influencer was, but she was the first person who I saw to have like literally a whole room, like a beauty room. I guess beauty rooms are probably like the start of these sort of things, right? And they will have like just a whole room, just a bunch of makeup enough for like hundreds of people. And then you started to see with other items like bags, perfumes, and I think as well, especially with women as well, that want to have like a showroom or like a retail store within your house. Even if you think about the way that people do their like wardrobes nowadays, where they like have their shoes on show and then like a matching bag, that is the way that a lot of retail stores are set up, and we want to put that into our homes. But then it's not just like beauty, makeup and fashion and stuff like that. Now with TikTok, it's with everything and anything people overconsume. You see it with like bath products, overconsume on everything. You just find lots of everything. And honestly, I don't really have a problem. Like I said, I don't really have a problem with what other people do with their money. When it comes to your building wealth journey, I feel like there is a lot of cons if you are practicing excess consumerism and overconsumption and you also want to build wealth. So one of the first things is low utilization. You are on your journey to building wealth and you're also someone who doesn't have an abundance of money. You're not a millionaire, basically. For everything that you spend, you want to make sure that you're getting maximum utilization out of it, so that any excess that you have, you are redirecting that towards building your net worth, so that acquiring assets or paying down debt. However, excess consumerism leads to so much wastage. And obviously, if you have wastage, you have very, very low utilization. So what do I mean by that? Often happens because we are so used to having so much stuff now that we actually don't use things till their full useful life, because way before it would have gotten to that point, we've already replaced it with something else. Let's just say, for example, an iPhone. A lot of people upgrade their iPhone every 1 to 2 years, but the actual useful life of an iPhone is probably around 5 years plus. But because we always feel the need to like have more, have the latest, whatever, we don't use things for their full useful life. And if you're not using things for their full useful life, then your utilization is low. Or even something more basic like a foundation, right? Let's talk about foundation for makeup. You buy a foundation, you're using it, like it's fine, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But then you're watching a tutorial of someone else doing their makeup and their makeup comes out nice and you're like, oh my God, I need to have every single item that this person used to do their face. I need it. So then you go buy another one and you abandon your first one, pick up another one and then start using that. And also shelf life as well. A lot of the things that we overconsume on don't even have a long shelf life. Things like foundation, you're not supposed to hoard 10, 20 different types of foundation because you only have one face and they only last, 12 months, 18 months before they actually expire. Excess consumerism also leads to clutter, and clutter also leads to low utilization. How many times have you decluttered your wardrobe or decluttered somewhere in your house and then you found something and you're like, oh my God, I never knew I had this. And that leads to very poor returns on your money that is not good for building wealth. A lot of overconsumption and excess consumerism is also just another form of shiny object syndrome, where you are just addicted to the feeling of newness. You like unboxing things because it activates the reward system in your brain and releases that dopamine that creates that feeling of pleasure. But really and truly, with each additional new item that you are buying over the amount that's actually necessary, you're actually experiencing diminishing marginal utility. And some people are unable to even recognize that. I also think a lot of overconsumption also reflects a scarcity mindset. And it may not seem related at first because a lot of us are still of the mindset of the more you display, the more wealth you have. But constantly accumulating things, even when you don't need it, reflects a mindset of never having enough. You're unable to determine when enough is enough. You just keep acquiring more, thinking that that is going to fill you up or that is going to create an abundance. A big part of this is also just exchanging your money for status instead of exchanging your money for wealth. I think another part of this excess consumerism that we are seeing is what we call in economics like conspicuous consumption. You're consuming things, you're buying a lot of things to be able to signal to other people a level of social prestige. So for example, you're like, well, I have to have the latest car because if I don't have the latest car, then people are going to think I don't have money. But I want people to think I'm this certain type of way. So I need to have this bag. I need to have these shoes. We do a lot of it to please other people and to signify a certain level of status, a certain level of social prestige. It's not genuinely for you and your utilization, and who are you actually doing it for? And I think if a lot of people are honest with themselves, a lot of it comes from trying to signal to other people, for example, not wanting to feel left out, right? FOMO, for example, that's why you have to have the Stanley Cup. It can't even be a dupe. It can't even be a replica. You have to get the Stanley Cup because that's what everyone else has and you want to feel a part of that. And the overall impact of all of this and the reason why it affects your wealth building journey is reduced savings, increased debt levels for a lot of people. Also things that we might not necessarily be able to value, like opportunity cost. If you realize that this is you and you give into overconsumption every now and again, here are a few things that I would recommend that I do. We are often the target for consumer spending because we are the biggest decision makers when it comes to discretionary consumer spending. Women control maybe like 70% of that. A lot of businesses target women because they know that we like to spend. Even when you look at brands that are targeted towards women, that you would think, for example, Fashion Nova, Pretty Little Thing, I would just assume that, oh yeah, surely like there's a female CEO that is creating a brand that's targeted towards women. And then you'll be shocked to find out that it's actually run by men and even a group of men. But there are things that you can do to make sure that you're still focusing on what is important for you. And for me, it's something that has come back into importance for me because of my lifestyle where I'm like, living between multiple countries. I am actually at the point of like learning to live on less because I need to be able to be mobile. I can't be like dragging things across countries, across continents. That just doesn't work. So it's something that has been like, I have refocused on and getting increased utilization from the things that I do have. So back to the things that are actually really helpful. I think one of the first things is realizing that you can like something. You can even love something, but that does not mean you have to want it for yourself. You can love someone, you can find them inspirational and aspirational, and also identify that you don't want their life or you don't want what they have. And I feel like as a society, sometimes we aren't able to draw the line between I like something and then I have to have this thing or I have to do this thing. So for example, literally the other day I was on TikTok and then I came across one of these, like, I would say one of these examples of like overconsumption. It was like a 15-step hair care routine. It was like, what was she doing? I don't know, everything that she was doing, she just had so many gadgets for everything. And I was literally hooked. I was watching so many of those videos and I really liked it. But I can identify that even though I really like watching this, I cannot have this in my own life. And another thing that's really helped me is just in general seeking increased utilization from all of the things that I do already have. So even when it comes to things like shopping, I started doing this like a couple months before I was going to leave Dubai, because I had a lot of food in my cupboard and I was like, okay, I don't want to get to the end of my lease and then have to throw out a bunch of food. So let me make meals based off of what I already have. Even if I had to buy things, I'd think about what I already had first, what can I make with this, and then buy anything that was missing to help me complete that dish. Even when it comes to like holiday, I just need to get into the habit of every time I was traveling, I needed a whole new outfit for every single day. But it's like, first of all, I'm not even a fashion vlogger or fashion content creator, influencer, or whatever. For example, I'm going to go first and shop my closet first. What items here can I wear? And then if I need to buy an additional item to help complete the outfit, then I will do that. And that really, really does help and has actually saved me definitely hundreds of pounds, if not even thousands of pounds. By the way, if you guys have anything that you do to help you from falling into overconsumption or excess consumerism, also comment it down below, because that can be helpful for me, that can be helpful for other people as well. But one of the things that I also like to think about is cost per wear. I think this is like a common concept, but it just basically forces you to think about the economic value of an item based on how many times you're actually going to wear it. For example, you can buy a PLT dress that is like £25 and then wear it, wash it, and then the color messes up or like it's out of shape or whatever. Or you can invest in another dress, maybe costs £100, and maybe you'll be able to wear that 10 different times. And so your cost per wear for that outfit, maybe you actually spend a little bit more for, is £10, but your cost per wear for your pretty little thing dress is £25 because the quality isn't there. I think this is another point as well. This isn't about going cheap, because being cheap, and especially when you put price over quality, and learned from a very young age that being cheap will always cost you more money and time in the end. And I think one of the things that leads to low utilization or low cost per wear or whatever is trends. I feel like that is probably one of the worst ways to shop. Again, I want to speak about value-based spending probably as my last point, but if you are a fashion person who has to stay on top of trends because it's part of your work or it's part of your content or it's part of your values, and this is obviously not for you. But for those of us who we don't care, it's not that important to us. When you shop trends, society and status signaling tells you when you should stop wearing that particular item. And I think that is one of the most wasteful ways to go about things, because again, you actually don't use things for their useful life. You use them based off of what status they are giving out at that point in time. I'll give you a perfect example where I've made the mistake of buying into a trend. My Balenciaga trainers, I got that during university. That was definitely giving into trend. That was definitely giving into status signaling or whatever, exchanging my money for status rather than exchanging it for wealth. And I bought those shoes and I didn't even really like them. I actually didn't even like them. It's really not my style. I liked them at the time because I was like, oh my God, Balenciaga. Like, I really want to have Balenciagas because it was crazy at the time. And as soon as those shoes, as they do when things are a big hype, as soon as those shoes came out of being in trend, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can wear these shoes anymore. There was nothing wrong with them. The shoe flipping cost me like 500 and something pounds. But because they were out of trend, I'm like, oh, I can no longer wear this shoe anymore. I was like, this doesn't even make sense. However, I have these other trainers, I don't even know what they are called, but I bought them from Prada. And they are not on trend. In fact, I've actually never seen anyone else wear them before. And these shoes are like a lifetime shoes. I think I probably bought them a year after the Balenciagas. The Balenciagas I probably haven't worn for like the last 3 years or so. Whereas these trainers, I'm still wearing them. And for me, there's no shelf life on them because I didn't buy them based on a trend. So I think trends as well, not shopping trends, is going to save you a lot if that is your intention. I'm just going to quickly wrap this up by talking about value-based spending, because I don't want to go on and on and on. And you guys should also share other stuff that you do as well to help you in this aspect. But I think value-based spending is really, really important. So when I'm talking about value-based spending, for me, I think how I'm able to distinguish between when am I buying something because I actually just generally just like this thing. I genuinely just really want a Stanley cut. I generally just want a new gym set. I genuinely just want to try a new foundation versus like overconsumptioning, like you're doing too much. It's thinking about value-based spending. And what that means for me is that on the things that I genuinely actually care about, I will spend money on those things. But to enable me to do that, for the things that I don't really care about or the things that aren't aligning with my goals at this very moment, I am going to spend as little as I can on those things and be as resourceful as I can on those things so that I can feel the abundance and the ability to spend more freely on the things that I actually care about. But I'm definitely one of the girlies who are like, I'm not going to spend hundreds of pounds on clothes and makeup and all of that stuff, shoes, bags. That's not me. But when it comes to a holiday, I can spend anything. I can spend anything on a holiday because experiences, especially experiencing things with friends, with family, with people that I love, for me means a lot more. I've never looked at an experience that I've had, a holiday that I've been on, and been like, oh my God, that was such a waste of money. But I definitely, like the example I've just gave, have done that with material items. But you might even be the opposite, right? You might really value creating a big perfume collection, right? Maybe it's something that you've been into since you were younger. This is something that you've always wanted to have. So then maybe for you, you need to cut back on spending on eating out, for example, if that's not something that you genuinely enjoy. And I think when it comes to value-based spending, and when you actually believe in that, that also stops you from judging other people because you don't know what their values are. Most important thing is what my values are, what your values are, and making sure that you are aligning to that, especially if you are going on a wealth building journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye.